What's going on, guys? Jacob Orth back here with another video of Jacob's Life in Vegas, coming to you guys from the west side of town again, over here at Charlie Frias Park. It's a little bit of a drive for me to come over here. I wasn't going to drive over here, but I figured you guys would appreciate the backdrop. The Orleans, the Strip. We got youth football going on today. Youth football practice we're here seeing in the background. So you guys got some entertainment behind me. But today we got a video that's going to be important to talk about, and it's about whether or not Las Vegas is even worth keeping open right now, or should it stay open right now with everything going on. So this video, guys, I'm just going to ask that you guys like this video, because I do what I can to take a whole bunch of information from different places, put it into a simple, easily understandable package to serve to you, which then goes out to a lot of other people, because a lot of people come to Vegas for different reasons. It's a lot to condense. So I'm just gonna ask you guys like the video for that, and that you guys give a comment on this. Tell me yes or no. It could be as simple as yes or no, Vegas should stay open, okay? Or if you wanna write more, write more. But we're gonna talk about several different factors and several different points of things that have been going on and things that have been happening since we reopened here in Las Vegas. So as we go through this video today, there's going to be different topics that are brought up. Some people might say certain points brought up in this video are positive, some might say they're negative, some may just say they're neutral, and the situation just is what it is. So the first thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to Las Vegas since reopening is the crowd that we have had here since reopening. And a lot of people are going to say this first part here is not positive because it involves people's lives. So we're going to start with the most serious part first and work our way down from there. And since we've reopened, depending on how you compare it from reopening beforehand to when we were reopening now to what it was beforehand, depending on how much information you can get from Las Vegas Metro Police Department's crime mapping website. There's been about a 20% uptick in crime if you look at assault, burglary, robbery, and weapons for the first week of March compared to the first week of August here in Las Vegas. So right around 100 reports filed versus about 120, and that's just what gets filed. Some of these things I'm going to talk about, you might see wind up here on the internet, but they may not even actually get reported to the police department. Since reopening, we have had multiple fights, and you can find a lot of those on the Random Vegas Facebook group. This fight over at the Flamingo, the Fashion Show Mall, a couple of girls on Fremont Street getting in a fight. It might be one thing if it was just, fights happen here in Vegas, right? Especially people are drinking and that kind of thing. But a lot of these fights keep ending up being like groups. A lot of them, multiple of I've seen have been 3-on-1 for some reason keeps happening. And one of them, the one at the Flamingo I saw was the one guy, it was him and his girlfriend. The girlfriend tried to step in. She got hit hard, got not sent to the ground. And the guy, the boyfriend, stepped in to fight one guy. One of the three guys, then he ended up getting knocked unconscious. The first hit is on the ground. The guy who knocked him unconscious punches him again while he's unconscious, and then robs the guy. So it's stuff like that where it's like, that's more than just two people having a fight. Do it, get out of your system, and move on. So things like that we've been seeing pop up, it seems like more and more since the reopening, are not good. As far as other violence, shootings, we have had about 3 or 4 shootings in the same number of weeks over on the Strip. And some of you have mentioned this in comments, some of you have asked about this going on here, and there's news reports that talk about this going on here since we have reopened, and obviously that's not good. And obviously there's risk every day in life, but we've had more go on, it seems like, since we have reopened. We also had a stabbing at the Venetian. That was all over media. That was local media, and that even made it onto CNN. We had 2 people, or I had 2 people in about 2 weeks, may even been in the same week, but 2 people in about 2 weeks get mad at me for filming in public on the Las Vegas Strip. You guys, maybe if you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you saw the one where she was definitely not happy and came up and took a swing while I was recording. And that only happened to me one time in the previous, I'm in year 7 now. It only happened to me once, and that was, I think, year 4. I was doing videos, and that was a group of homeless people who were upset that thought I was taking their picture. And again, that was on Las Vegas Boulevard, like out in public. So that's 2 instances now in the recent, since reopening, it's been about a week, 2-week span, maybe somewhere in there, that people have gotten upset at me for recording like on Las Vegas Boulevard, the most famous street in the world. 40+ million people come every year, and they have their phone out, their camera out, recording and taking pictures. So that's been a bit different to see lately. Another thing when it comes to the crowd lately, and a lot of you mentioned this in comments, especially on my live streams and things like that, is the attire that you're seeing. And you'll see this in other places online too, right? I've seen, quite a few shirtless guys, people walking around half naked, people with their pants sagging down. We're not just like a little bit where, okay, maybe it was, incidental, but like it's clear. Like I can clearly see what color your underwear is. And, other people just walk around, they're just slovenly looking on the Strip or downtown on Fremont Street or whatever the case is. And, that's why, lots of times bars, restaurants, clubs, casinos, they have dress codes for that kind of thing to try to maintain just, a basic standard of decency when it comes to the clientele or the people in there. So that's been something that I know a lot of you have mentioned in the comments section. I've seen it too, obviously, as I'm, walking around here in public. So that's something else going on. A lot of people see that and they're like, nah, they're not too enthusiastic about seeing that on their vacation. Another component is that people have been complaining about, really comes to the workers here, is the crowd is not tipping well. People have been saying the crowd is not tipping well. There's an article about one lady saying that tips have been down about 75% on the Strip. There have been numerous reports I've heard from casino workers saying that they've been seeing people since reopening coming and paying with their unemployment debit card that they get. They're $600 a week. They've been coming and spending that. So their unemployment money they've been spending on, trips to Vegas or coming on a weekend to Vegas. That's been seen a fair amount, here on the Strip and downtown and around town. Also, the clientele being rude to staff members, that's been complaints, seen that around. And heard that on the ground level here a fair amount. People quitting because they just don't want to deal with it, they can't take it at some of these casinos. And it's just part of the complaints you're seeing again and again and again with the clientele we have right now. There's other things too that'll make you do like a double take if you're going through the casino. I saw one picture the other day on Twitter from Vital Vegas about a group of people who were some people come to Vegas, they want to save money on drinks. And, they'll buy like the styrofoam cooler, right? And they'll buy their drinks at the Walgreens or CVS, and they'll mix drinks in their room. There's a group of people who are sitting down on the casino floor with their styrofoam Circle K cooler, mixing drinks out on the casino floor. And I don't think I've ever seen that before. So stuff like that, people look at that and they're like, go do that in your room, It's just something that people look at and they're like, you usually don't see this going on in Vegas. Also, we've had, quite a few people say too that there seems to be so many kids in Las Vegas right now compared to how it normally is. Well, part of that is because it's the summertime. So obviously the summertime is typically when families are out traveling, doing family vacations normally. But because of the cheaper prices right now, because the demand is low and which means the prices are low right now. So it's, just like it's cheaper for just you as an individual to come here to Vegas, it's cheaper for someone to bring their family. If, they got four-person family, 5 people, 6 people, whatever the case is, for them it's a cheaper time to be able to come here. So right now is probably about the point of the video where some people are getting ready to just start pounding on their keyboards in the comments saying, Jacob, you're being negative, you're Mr. Negative, you're calling me cheap. I came to Vegas to reopen and you're calling me cheap because you say people don't tip well. Okay, relax, okay? First of all, relax. A couple things to keep in mind. All right, one, I have to speak broadly, okay, about all the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that have come here since reopen, okay? You may have come and, hey, maybe you did drop $500 or whatever the case is, or even more when you came on your vacation like you normally do. That's great, but I'm just talking about the crowd at large and trends we're seeing, tendencies we're seeing. Just like, during the week, we usually have big conventions, those crowds tend to bring us a lot of money. Doesn't mean every person who comes here for a convention is going to spend a lot of money, but that big crowd, that business crowd, tends to bring us a significant amount of cash, a significant amount of revenue for this city and for this state. The other thing too is when it comes to just even like talking numbers about revenue being down or things like that, people say, oh, that's just being negative. Well, if you're in a business meeting and your revenue was down 30% from the month before, your boss may not just say, well, that's just being negative. It's like, no, we have to find out what happened. Why is the revenue down? What's going on? What can we do to fix it? How can we solve this problem? So we have to at least be able to be willing to look at the reality of what we're dealing with right here in Southern Nevada. We have to look at the reality, whether it's good, bad, or neutral, before we can start entertaining ideas about what to do or making suggestions or, thinking about a different path to follow. The next thing we'll talk about in this video is the employment. We'll talk about employment here in Southern Nevada since we have reopened, because that has been, in some ways it's gotten a little better, as you'll see with the unemployment numbers since reopened, but also it's just not been good. Overall, it's not been good. We've had casinos laying off and furloughing staff, and even non-casinos doing the same kind of thing because there's not enough money coming in. We had the Palazzo earlier, they stopped taking weekday reservations. But interestingly enough, the Mirage, announced earlier, say, hey, we're going to open on, the 27th, and we're going to be open over on the Strip. So according to Yelp, here's something I saw that is definitely not good. According to Yelp, Nevada, among states, ranks second in business closures. for temporary and permanent business closures, and Las Vegas, among cities, ranks 3rd. Now, a lot of that is obviously due to the fact that a high percentage of our economy here is dependent on tourism, hospitality, and travel. Those industries have been essentially, I won't say obliterated, but they've been hit very hard, is the way I'll put it, because of this pandemic and because of what's going on. That's a huge part of our economy here. You'll notice that really most of these businesses we're losing here are actually small businesses. That's what we're losing, are the small businesses, which to me is a much bigger concern than the huge corporations, because huge corporations, they have protection, okay? MGM, they took $1 billion is what they got. They got $1 billion investment, so MGM can do that, right? Caesars, Wynn Resorts, Las Vegas Sands, and some of those corporations, a lot of their money doesn't even actually come from Las Vegas. It comes from overseas, from other places. So those huge corporations, they have so many other options and financial resources that, small businesses don't have. They don't have that kind of help. And some of them are really feeling it now because their commercial protection, the eviction protection for small businesses ended on July 1st. So July 1st, small businesses could start being told, hey, or any business that's leasing, that's paying rent, could be told, hey, you have to get out of the building. And that's exactly what happened to Vickie's Diner. On July 1st, they were given 30-day notice that they had to, be out. When it comes to unemployment numbers in Las Vegas, those obviously were very bad during the shutdown. They've gotten better since reopening, but we'll have to, keep an eye on, see what happens, because in February this year, unemployment for Las Vegas was 3.9%. In March, it was 7.2%. In April, it was 34% unemployment. In May, it went down to 28.8%, and then June, when we reopened, it went down to 18%. Now, how all the, people that are trying to get unemployment, people who've given up looking for it, people who've been furloughed, people who've been laid off, how all of that, will factor into it, in July and going forward, we shall see how that pans out. The next thing we'll talk about is the stimulus, right? Stimulus package, some unemployment money, people want to get a stimulus check and all that kind of stuff. Well, let's talk about what's going on with that. We'll talk about that more so from DC and also here locally, what's happening. And this check is still being worked out, okay? That's what's going on. The check is still being worked out. The weekly federal unemployment, that was $600 a week, gone. That went bye-bye. So, say that's gone now. So as we go forward, this last weekend, actually, I did not think the Strip was as busy as it was, in prior weeks. Part of that probably had to do with the fact that people lost their $600 a week unemployment. Like I said earlier, there are reports that people were coming and spending that money here. So if that money stops coming in, a lot of those people stop coming to Vegas. Now, the weekly federal unemployment is now $300 or $400 a week, depending on, what state you live in. Federal eviction protection has expired for tenants, and coming very soon here, we have 250,000 residents in the Las Vegas area that, their eviction protection expires September 1st. So for small businesses, it wasn't looking good. It was not looking good for individuals right now. As we go forward, and how much more of this, how many more hits can we take economically? Speaking of taking economic hits, a lot of you saw the video I did recently about comparing June 2019 versus June 2020 when it came to the numbers we had, the tourism and hospitality numbers of, how many nights of rooms were stayed in here, how much money was made when it came to gambling and things like that, how many people visited, all those kinds of things. Obviously, those numbers are very, very down right now, here in Southern Nevada. We're just hurting because of the virus overall. And, a lot of that, too, also has to do with the fact that we don't have as much entertainment going around right now. So some people, they've mentioned how there's no shows, bars, clubs, concerts, conventions, sporting events, international tourist numbers. It's bad all the way around. And when it came to the bars trying to reopen, the bars, remember, a lot of bar owners got together and sued Governor Sisolak. Well, a judge sided with Governor Sisolak on that order. And even with the limited number of options we have, though, for entertainment, there are people who still say, hey, I came, I had fun, I had a blast since reopening, I enjoyed it, I thought it was just as fun as before, wherever the case may be. Then you have people on the other end of the spectrum who say, you know what, this is nothing like the Vegas I'm used to. I'm just gonna wait till things get back to normal before I come back. And the last thing we'll talk about here before we close it out is about the virus, right? The virus and what we can look forward to in the future, some of the talk that's been going on. If you guys caught my update video I did the other day, Megan Messerly of the Nevada Independent, she put out a tweet saying how we are 5 weeks out from the July 20th peak in terms of the average reported daily cases of the virus. And if deaths lag by about 5 weeks, then we should start to see a downward trend this week. So that's something that could wind up being very positive. We see a downward trend in the number of deaths when it comes to the virus. Because if that number goes downward, deaths are becoming fewer and fewer, then, it gives more justification for people to say, hey, the numbers are better, the numbers are more under control, we can reopen up bars again, we can reopen up all these other businesses again, and things like that. Because, we still have businesses that are going to be closed until 2021, but, they could say, hey, at least we get closer to being at our normal place that we were, right now. So that's part of the hope for the future, is that the virus numbers do get better. Now, also, there's a big debate about, I've seen this in the comments section, about having a vaccine versus herd immunity. It's probably more complex for this city than any other city in America, maybe even any other city in the world, because we have so many people that travel here every year from within the U.S. and from outside the U.S. that it's quite a debate. Tell me what you guys think about this down below. I know this is a lengthy video. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me during this video, but I think there's a lot to be covered, and I hope you guys appreciate how I was able to, tackle all this information for you. So guys, go ahead and check out another cool video right over there. I'll see you guys in the video over there. That is it for this one. I am Jacob. This is My Life in Vegas.